Chapter 2443. A 90% similar face, asking for votes, Tianguang Ruins. Junior sister has been hiding in the Medicine King's inheritance space for the past few days. It's not enough for her to slaughter the Xinglin, Liuli, and spiritual pivot lists, she still wants to slaughter the last 10th rank coiled dragon list. TSK, 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 sixth sister is too cruel. I mourn for those who want to compete with her on the same list every time. Yun Ruhan couldn't help but shake her head as she listened to the discussion of her juniors, revealing a helpless smile. When she first stepped into Xian realm, she still wanted to keep a low profile. Little did she know that as long as junior sister was here, keeping a low profile was like floating clouds. Moreover, how many skills can junior sister be proficient in? Sword skills, support, control, talismans, alchemy. Is there anything in this world that she can't learn? Hearing Yun Ruhan's words, the others couldn't help but shiver. With such a genius junior sister, it's also very hard for them to catch up. Chu Moli said with an unfathomable smile, "Have you all forgotten? These are not junior sister's main occupation." Not main occupation? Everyone was stunned at first, then their expressions became very interesting. Because they all remembered the words that junior sister had said. "Sorry, I forgot to tell senior brothers, my main occupation is a doctor. I'm a music doctor." Haha. What fucking main occupation is a doctor? Luo Yu coughed lightly. At least, sixth sister absolutely doesn't know how to cook needlework. Thinking of Mu Yen burning down the kitchen and blowing up the cave, everyone couldn't help but laugh. Yun Ruhan, alright, stop fooling around. We came here to see if Chu Tianyu managed Liangchen's army well for junior sister. Let's go to Laozi. Before he could finish speaking, someone in the reincarnation square suddenly let out a cry of alarm. Floating Life Pavilion is going to sell the 10th grade elixir refined by immortal fairy Qingwan. Moreover, the owner of Floating Life Pavilion also revealed that a shocking news will be released, saying that it's about immortal fairy Qingwan. I heard from Qingwan's supporters that once this news is released, immortal fairy Qingwan's fame will certainly surpass Liangchen's. Yun Ruhan and the others looked at each other, seeing the doubt in each other's eyes. They quickly followed the crowd to Floating Life Pavilion. At this moment, the surroundings of the Floating Dreams Pavilion were already packed with people. Everyone looked up at the top floor of the Floating Dreams Pavilion. Standing there was a woman with a veil over her face. She was none other than Ling Qingwan. The woman was surrounded by more than 10 beautiful maidservants. Like stars surrounding the moon, they surrounded Ling Qingwan. Meanwhile, the owner of the Floating Life Pavilion stood behind her with respect and humility. The people below couldn't help but make a ruckus. Immortal Fairy Qingwan, I heard that you want to sell tier 10 pills. May I ask if you will sell the legendary Soaring Dragon pill that can allow people to ascend? Jun Qingwan, you've boasted and slandered great God Yi time and time again. What are you trying to do now? Do you really think that our Liangchen army will be afraid of you? Ling Qingwan's gaze looked down from above, coldly sweeping across everyone below. Then, with a light hook of her finger on the veil that was originally covering her face disappeared instantly, revealing a beautiful face that could cause the downfall of nations. The clamor below came to an abrupt end. Some people opened their mouths wide, mesmerized and amazed. Someone sucked in a cold breath. Some people's saliva slid down from the corner of their mouths, unaware of it. Seeing the face under this veil, the hearts of the Xiao Yao 6 abruptly sank. Each and every one of their faces turned completely unsightly. Because Ling Qingwan's face was actually 90% similar to their junior sister, Jun Mayan. Tomorrow, beginning of summer, tea eggs, glutinous rice, bamboo shoots. My dears, what's your beginning of summer's delicacies the second last day of the double monthly tickets? Do you still have tickets? Hee. Chapter 2444. Yun Ruhan and the rest could recognize that Ling Qingwan's face was similar to Mayan's. Naturally, the others could recognize her as well. After all, alluring killing god Mayan's reputation in the entire devouring cultivation continent was like the sun in the sky. She was not inferior to ranking slaughtering demon Yi Liangchen at all. Soon, someone exclaimed, Jun Mayan? My god, immortal fairy Qingwan is actually the devastatingly murderous monarch Mayan? How is this possible? God Jun doesn't know how to make pills at all. How is it impossible? Look up at that face. In this world, other than alluring killing god Mayan, who else has such an unparalleled beauty? Hee, so what if God Jun knows how to make pills? Yi Liangchen is omnipotent? The great god Jun's talent is unparalleled in this world. The crowd was in a hubbub. As Ling Qingwan listened to the discussions of the people below, a mocking smile appeared on her face. Then, she became angry and jealous. She didn't expect that Jun Mayan, this slut, who came to the Shozhen continent with her insignificant mortal body from the Yanwu continent, actually didn't fade into the crowd. Instead, she has such a flourishing reputation, and people who support her. And she, Ling Qingwan, was supposed to be the high and mighty young master of the Tianyi clan, the future mistress of the polar domain. But because of this bitch, she had to hide and live under someone else's roof like a stray dog. What right did this bitch have? However, thinking that Jun Mayan had already died in Leng Yuexia's hands, her identity and appearance were all taken by her. Ling Qingwan's burning and resentful heart calmed down, and even carried a bit of complacency and pride. She used Jun Mayan's identity to suppress another bitch, Yi Liangchen. She ruined her reputation and made her kneel under her feet. Wasn't this a great feeling? Suddenly, a weak voice came from the crowd. Why do I remember hearing that Jun Mayan is Yi Liangchen? The timeline of their appearance is almost exactly the same. I heard that too. The first place Yi Liangchen appeared in was the Starry School. Many students in the school said that God Jun and God Yi are the same person. This made Ling Qingwan supporters angry. Are you kidding me? Just look at Yi Liangchen's ordinary face. It's already good enough that I didn't call him an ugly freak. How dare she compare him to the Jun family's peerless beauty? Bah, an ugly freak dares to call herself the devastatingly beautiful god of death? Maybe those rumors were spread by Yap Liangchen himself. Very likely. After all, even if Yi Liangchen's appearance was improved by 100%, he would still look like a loser. In reality, he would probably feel so inferior that he didn't even have the face to see anyone. He would always fantasize that he was as beautiful as Jun Mo Xie. Ha ha ha. Even Jun Mayan supporters are sneering incessantly. We don't care if your Yi Liangchen is fucking around outside. But, he's fucking shameless to try and blackmail our great god Jun. I admit that Yap Liangchen is quite capable to be able to slaughter all 6 of the Dragon Ascension rolls. However, to put it bluntly, slaughtering a roll is just slaughtering a roll. How can it be compared to a real battle? Hee, I'm afraid some people don't know. Our great god Jun was able to kill a nascent soul and astral projection cultivator in the Woodfront secret realm with his golden core cultivation. Can someone who slaughtered a roll do that? Hearing the noisy crowd, the 6 unfettered men looked at each other. They were speechless. Chapter 2445. Little junior sister is really worthy of being a female devil who can set off a reign of terror. One person can create 3 different groups of supporters. One group is Yi Liangchen's supporters. One group is supporters of Mayan's strength. And another group is those who are bewitched by the stunning appearance of fatally beautiful killing god. In Bai Xie's words, it's face powder. But these 3 groups of people clearly support the same person, yet they can mix together and quarrel with each other. This strange scene simply makes them gasp in amazement. But the 6 people slightly narrow their eyes, looking at Ling Qingwan standing above, with a smile that isn't a smile. Someone actually dares to pretend to be their little junior sister, she's simply tired of living. Just then, someone among the cultivators suddenly says loudly, Immortal Fairy Qingwan, may I ask if you are, fatally beautiful killing god, Mayan? Ling Qingwan smiles contemptuously, saying with a cold face, I don't want to answer this nonsense. Today, I let you come here because I'm preparing to sell the 10th grade Snow Soul Pill and the Drifting Cloud Pill. A 7th grade elixir, in my eyes, isn't even as good as trash. Today, I'm selling the 10th grade elixir to let you know what a truly perfect elixir is. The owner of the Floating Life Pavilion, who is standing on the side, immediately straightens his back and says with a proud face, this shop is fortunate to have the favor of Great God June, and is authorized to sell the 10th grade Snow Soul Pill and the Drifting Cloud Pill. Each elixir will be sold for 80 million high-grade crystals. Hearing this price, the cultivators below all suck in a mouthful of cold air. 80 million high-grade crystals? Even if it's a 10th grade elixir, isn't it too expensive? The 9th grade Yang Restoration Pill refined by Great God Yi is also less than 1 million, and this doesn't even include the discount given to Yi Liangchen's army. Yang Restoration Pill is a top-notch healing medicine. A 9th grade elixir can bring the dead back to life, and even extend a cultivator's lifespan. And to refine the Yang Restoration Pill, to devour, the elixirs needed are extremely precious and hard to find in the world. But the Yang Restoration Pill is extremely difficult to refine. A little carelessness, and all the rare elixirs will be wasted. Therefore, when the 9th grade Yang Restoration Pill comes out, it directly occupies the top spot on the spiritual pivot list. No one is surprised. And now, the #1 shop in the world had started to sell the 9th grade Yang Rejuvenation Pill, although there was only one. However, the person who bought it was his master, who was on the verge of death. He knelt in front of the #1 shop in the world and kowtowed 9 times. This was something that the entire Tianguang ruins knew. As for the Snow Soul Pill and the Drifting Cloud Pill, even if they were 10th grade pills, they were only ordinary high-grade pills. Although the Snow Soul Pill was also a healing medicine, it was mainly used for non-fatal external injuries. It was impossible for the Snow Soul Pill to extend one's lifespan, not to mention bring the dead back to life. In terms of value, the Snow Soul Pill was far inferior to the Yang Rejuvenation Pill. As for the Drifting Cloud Pill, a pill used to remove inner demons, it was completely incomparable to the Barrier-Breaking Pill and Yang Return Pill. If the legendary Rising Dragon Pill was sold for 80 million crystals, he could still accept it. But if it was just the Snow Soul Pill and the Drifting Cloud Pill, even 10 million crystals would be too expensive for many people. Ling Qingwan was furious when she heard her subordinates belittling her Snow Soul Pill and Drifting Cloud Pill and praising the Yang Restoration Pill made by Yi Liangchen. But then she sneered again. These ignorant and foolish people. Very soon, they will kneel and beg her to sell the Snow Soul Pill and the Drifting Cloud Pill to them. The owner of the Floating Life Pavilion raised his hand and lightly pressed down. He used his spiritual power to stimulate his voice and said loudly, everyone, please calm down. Chapter 2446. I, Lu Shengze, swear on the 100 years of the Floating Dreams Pavilion's reputation that the 2 pills refined by God June are definitely worth the price. With a flip of his hand, a translucent glass goblet appeared in his hand. The people below quickly recognized it, and they couldn't help but be speechless. The Floating Dreams Pavilion really had a deep foundation. The treasure appraisal glass goblet was unique to Tianguang ruins and couldn't be brought to the real world. But the price was sky high. Ordinary people wouldn't spend money to buy something that only existed in the virtual world. It wasn't expensive to go to the appraisal pavilion to appraise it. But the owner of the Floating Dreams Pavilion took it out so casually. Lu Shengze respectfully asked Ling Qingwan for permission. Only after receiving her approval did he place a Snow Soul Pill into the goblet. Soon, the goblet lit up with a dazzling light. A screen of light appeared in front of everyone. The data on the light screen was the composition of the Snow Soul Pill, its medicinal effect, its saturation of spiritual energy, and its purity. When everyone's eyes fell on the data behind the purity, someone let out an earth-shattering cry. 90% purity? How is that possible? I remember that Dong Yulong's boundless essence pill was only 80% purity. Master Su Qingling's clear void pill was only 82% purity, right? Decades ago, there was a top-notch alchemist in the cultivation continent. Everyone fought over her pills, and each one was sold at a sky-high price. But I remember that the highest purity of the medicinal pills refined by that master was only 89%. Is that true? The 10th grade pills refined by God June can really reach 90% purity? Hearing the exclamations of disbelief from the crowd, Lu Xingze felt honored as he watched Ling Qingwan devour him with even more reverence. This time, when the Woodfern's secret realm opened, Lu Xingze had a woman he had admired for a long time. Only after she came out did she tell Lu Xingze how dangerous the trip had been. If not for Mayan's help, most of them would have died in the secret realm. As early as at the Deer Cry banquet, Lu Xingze was fascinated by God June and the Xiaoyao's 7 sons. This time, the woman he admires has returned safely, making him even more grateful towards Mayan. He had already made up his mind that he would make the great God June the champion of the pill competition. The first stage of the elixir competition was related to the abilities of the elixir masters and their popularity in Tianguang ruins. As the owner of the floating life pavilion, Lu Xingze's popularity and status in the Tianguang ruins were self-evident. With his support, Ling Qingwan could be said to be like a tiger that had grown wings. As soon as Yun Ruhan and the others left Tianguang ruins, they immediately went to find Mayan. Sixth senior sister, someone is impersonating you. Mu Yan had just come out of the inheritance space to catch her breath. She was stunned when she heard that. Someone is pretending to be Yap Liangchen again. As soon as the words left her mouth, she awkwardly touched her nose. This was because Chu Tianyu, who was standing to the side and preparing to report the situation of Liang Chen's army, heard this and his expression darkened. However, he quickly recovered his calm and indifferent expression. Mu Yan coughed lightly and was about to speak when she heard Yun Ruhan say, "It's not Yap Liangchen, it's June Mayan." The 6 of them talked at once and very quickly recounted the events that happened in the Tianguang ruins. When they heard that the immortal fairy June Qingwan in Tianguang ruins actually had the same face as her. Chapter 2447. Mu Yan's pupils immediately shrink. A name suddenly flashed through her mind. Tian Yimen, Ling Qingwan. Back then, in the Yanwu continent, he led the Flowing Moon sect to attack him and Xiao Bao, the woman who claims to be Di Mingju's fiancé. No wonder she found the name, Immortal Fairy Qingwan, familiar. However, back then, she had seen Ling Qingwan's face, and it was obviously different from her own. Why did her appearance change? How dare you impersonate me? She, June Mayan, wasn't dead, how could she be casually impersonated? Wasn't Ling Qingwan afraid that he would expose her? Dead. Suddenly, Mayan's heart sinks. Who was that crazy woman who came to kill him in the Azure Cloud world? Now that he thought about it, the way that woman attacked seemed to be exactly the same as the 2 assassins sent by the Heaven's Physician sect. The crazy woman was also a member of Tian Yimen. She personally saw him fall into the God-refining abyss and thought that he was dead. And for some reason, Ling Qingwan's appearance was similar to his. That was why she dared to impersonate him so openly. So here was the problem. Ling Qingwan impersonates her own eyes and devours what is it? A dignified immortal from the Xuxian continent wouldn't come here just for a small pill competition, right? Moreover, didn't Di Mingju say that Tian Yimen no longer exists? Mu Yan frowns and doesn't say anything. Luo Yu saw her pale expression and couldn't help but worry. Sixth senior sister, are you all right? Do you know this June Qingwan? Mu Yan shook her head, I'm fine. She paused for a moment, then smiled coldly and said, I've roughly guessed her identity. Len Yuma wanted to ask who that slut was, but she was stopped by Chu Moli. He looks up at Mayan, do you need our help? As soon as he said that, the other 5 immediately came to their senses. That's right, who is June Mayan? Is there anyone more convincing than the people of our Xiaoyao school? They rubbed their palms together and said excitedly, let's go to Tianguang ruins to verify our identities, and then we'll smash that shameless immortal fairy's face. However, Mu Yan shook his head, and said with a calm expression, no need, I have my own ways to deal with her. He sees Mayan slightly lowering her eyebrows and turning around to enter the room. The others anxiously wanted to follow them, but they were stopped by Chu Moli. Third senior brother, why do I feel that junior sister is very angry? Was she angry that someone had impersonated her? Should we help her prove it? Chu Moli shook his head and smiled. Since little junior sister said there's no need, then there's definitely no need. What's more, have you ever seen anyone take advantage of junior sister? Who is this so-called immortal fairy Qingwan? But it seemed that he had already stepped on her reverse scale. He was really curious about what would happen to this woman. Within the Medicine King's inheritance space, Mu Yan is trying to refine a 10th grade elixir. In a short period of time, she had grasped the refinement of a 7th grade Dan, but there was still some distance before she could perfectly concoct a 10th grade Dan. The last spirit herb was put in. The alchemy cauldron suddenly emitted a sizzling sound and exploded with a bang. Mu Yan was caught off guard and was directly hit by the aftermath of the explosion. Her entire body flew out. However, before she could hit the wall, she felt her body being dragged up by a strong wind. At the same time, a cool aura poured into her body, calming her restless mind. Chapter 2448. After standing still, Mayan sees a cute boy opposite her looking at her with a twisted eyebrow. Although this boy tries his best to pretend to be a mature young man with a dignified appearance. But Mayan can still see the worry in his eyes. Cough, good disciple, what's wrong with you? Such a simple refining elixir, you can make a mistake, if it gets out. You are the disciple of the king of medicine, isn't that shameful to me? Han Shujiu was about to say something, but when he saw Mayan's pale face and gloomy expression, the words that were about to come out of his mouth immediately shrank back. Good disciple, don't be sad, master didn't mean to scold you. You have done very well. In such a short time, she learned how to refine 7th and 8th grade elixirs, and every elixir met his requirements. This can no longer be described as very well. Han Shujiu always knew how high his requirements were, and how abnormal he was. He had originally been a good disciple, but he couldn't do it. He wanted to teach him a lesson and comfort him. A stick and a carrot, so that his good disciple would worship and admire him even more. He didn't expect that Mayan did far better than he expected. This made Han Shujiu proud, but also somewhat uncomfortable. His disciple was too powerful and smart, and the master couldn't be of use. What should he do? Now that his precious disciple has encountered setbacks and troubles, Han Shujiu naturally wants to comfort her carefully. He wants to enjoy being a master. Mayan smiled and didn't hide it. She wanted to participate in the competition, but a competitor pretended to be her, and briefly told him about it. Han Shujiu exploded when he heard it. Who dared to pretend to be Han Shujiu's disciple? She also wants to steal his disciple's inheritance? Bah! Is that kind of trash qualified to be Han Shujiu's disciple? Han Shujiu, good disciple, you can tolerate this kind of trash? You must expose her conspiracy in public, so that she can't turn over for the rest of her life. Mayan looked at Xiaojiu's master's red cheeks, and couldn't help but laugh. If she didn't say it, who would think that this cute Shota boy is the only king of medicine in the world? The annoyance in her heart was also replaced by warmth and emotion. She gently shook her head. I can't expose her in real life. How could Mu Yan not want to expose Leng Qingwan's impersonation in public? But she couldn't. Once she appears, the people of Tianyi Men will know that she is not dead. At that time, the crazy woman might not only target him, but also the other disciples of the Xiaoyao sect. This is something that Mayan absolutely cannot tolerate. Her lips curled into a proud and arrogant smile as she said, I don't need to prove my identity. I can still beat her to a pulp. Besides, What we're fighting for now is the pill competition. Naturally, we'll have to use pills to determine the winner. Mu Yan's eyes turned to Han Chujiu and smiled. Jiu Shifu, you are Xingzhu Medicine King, and I am your only disciple. Do you think I will lose to others in terms of Dan? Han Chujiu immediately jumped up. How is this possible? This Medicine King's disciple is invincible under the heavens. Who can compare? Mu Yan resisted the urge to pinch her master's face. She smiled and said, so, Shifu, don't worry. I will soon let her know that she doesn't have enough strength to pretend to be me, Mu Yan. That's just asking to slap her own face. Han Chujiu snorted, but he still felt a little refreshed. But, in the end, he still fulfilled his little disciple's wish. Baidu search UC Book League website, so that you can experience the latest and fastest chapters. Chapter 2449. However, he still can't help but wonder, my good disciple, since you've thought it through so thoroughly? Why did you make such a simple mistake in alchemy? Mu Yan's face sinks. Her fingers subconsciously stroke her fingers. There is the void spirit ring that Di Mingju gave her. It's just hidden by her, ordinary people can't see it. She is silent for a long time, then she whispers, as long as I think that he might be lenient towards that face, from hearing Ling Qingwan pretending to be her, to figuring out the identity of Ling Qingwan and the crazy woman. Mu Yan's mind is not filled with anger at being impersonated, nor is it the fear of being chased. Instead, it's a kind of sour and unhappy emotion, filling her heart and occupying all her thoughts. So much so that she made such a low-level mistake in alchemy. Di Mingju said that he would destroy Tianyi men, but left Ling Qingwan. Why? Is it because of Ling Qingwan's face, or because of their friendship, that moved his heart? No matter which answer it is, it makes Mu Yan restless. If Di Mingju is in front of her, she will definitely grab the man's lapel and ruthlessly interrogate him. But why is that man so far away from her? She can't touch him, see him, or feel him. Mu Yan smiles bitterly. In fact, I know that things shouldn't be like what I think, but I'm still not happy. Probably, she's just jealous, that's all. Moreover, she hasn't seen Di Mingju for such a long time, and her longing has overflowed into grievances and bitterness. She only needs a little primer, and it will ferment. Mu Yan's words are vague, but she quickly adjusts her mood and re-immerses herself in alchemy. On the side, Han Chujiu touches his chin, revealing a thoughtful look. His good disciple has a sweetheart, he already knew this. But, his good disciple's sweetheart actually went behind his back and fell in love with that impostor? Are you kidding me? Is he, Han Chujiu's precious disciple, worthy of a mere mortal? This shameless idiot got his disciple's favor, but he still dares to be fickle and flirt everywhere? Damn it, this is really unbearable. What are the immortals of Xuxian continent? Does he think that he, the disciple of the sacred ancestor Medicine King, is easy to bully? Han Chujiu angrily leaves the Medicine King's inheritance. His consciousness leaves the Medicine King Hall without stopping, and goes to the polar domain. What about Di Mingju? Tell him to come out. Han Yi and Elder Chang hurriedly run out to greet him. Xiaojiu, why are you here? Han Chujiu, get out of the way, I am looking for Di Mingju. Tell him to come out and see me. Elder Chang coughed lightly. Don't be rude. How can you call the Lord by his name? Han Chujiu impatiently said, last time, my disciple's medicine saved that stupid dog Xing Lang's life and also cured Di Mingju's poison. Di Mingju personally promised to owe me a favor. I want him to return the favor now. Where is he? Could it be that the exalted extreme domain sovereign lord wants to act shamelessly? Elder Chang rubbed his nose and wanted to sigh. Han Yi doesn't dare to offend this great god who once saved Di Jun. He says with a smile, Master Medicine King, Jun has gone to the border and hasn't returned yet. He did not finish his sentence. A deep and resonant voice came from the distant horizon. What do you want me to do? Say it. Elder Chang and Han Yi are overjoyed. They kneel on the ground. Greetings, June. A handsome, godlike man appears in front of the three people in a twinkling of an eye. Baidu search UC Book League website so that you can experience the latest and fastest chapters. All are updated in seconds. Chapter 2450. The powerful pressure and the aura of a monarch made all the living beings in the extreme emperor palace bow their heads and submit to him willingly. Only Han Shujiu, after being shocked for a moment, immediately rushes in front of Di Mingju. Di Mingju, the Kunlun wood and phoenix grass that you said, this old man can ask for it later. But first, help me do one thing. Di Mingju raises an eyebrow. What is it? Han Shujiu grits his teeth. Someone is bullying my baby disciple. I want you to personally support my baby disciple. Pfft. Han Yi couldn't help but laugh. Medicine Wang Darren, are you possessed? Your baby disciple is just a mortal in the Xiuzhen continent. You want us, the emperor of the polar domain, to support a mortal? Han Shujiu directly gives Han Yi a cold stare. What mortal? That is my, Han Shujiu's disciple. Han Yi, you bastard dog, if you dare to say one more word about my disciple, believe it or not, I will poison you. Han Yi is so scared that he immediately stops talking. Di Mingju is a bit absent-minded. The netherworld and the devil's domain move, the border is constantly disturbed. As the emperor of the polar domain, he cannot leave the Xiuzhen continent. He hasn't been able to return to Mu Yan's side for a long time to see her and hug her. When Han Shujiu mentions his baby disciple in the Xiuzhen continent, Di Mingju's longing for Mu Yan overflows. His hand gently touches the void spirit ring on his finger, concealing his true emotions, and faintly says, Medicine Wang, how do you want Ben Jun to support your disciple? Han Shujiu sneers, that man with eyes but no eyes, after getting my baby disciple's favor, he still dares to hook up with other women. He deserves to die 10,000 times. Di Mingju, I want you to go to the Xiuzhen continent and pretend to be my disciple's fiancé. Let that man see that my disciple is a rare treasure. There are many men who would rush to have her. Then, chop that womanizer and his lover into 180 pieces, and throw them all to the dogs. Pfft. Han Yi couldn't help but laugh. Medicine Wang Darren, didn't you say last time that your baby disciple absolutely doesn't like Jun Shang, and that Jun Shang shouldn't covet her? Why did she change her mind so quickly and let you pretend to be her fiancé? Han Shujiu gritted her teeth in anger. He gloomily looks at Han Yi. Little lackey Han, take a guess, if I make you impotent, that kid Mei won't even look at you. Oh, that's right, you can stay under the shadow demon forever. Han Yi immediately clamps his thighs together, only feeling a cold breeze between his crotch and his chrysanthemum. He's so scared that he doesn't dare to speak again. Di Mingju coldly says, Impossible. Impossible. Why is it impossible? Han Shujiu jumped in anger. Di Mingju, you bastard, do you want to be ungrateful? Don't forget that the antidote to the sui poison was refined by my precious disciple. Without my precious disciple, how many people would die in the polar domain? You would have died a long time ago. Elder Cheng berated, Little Jiu, don't be rude to the emperor. Han Shujiu coldly snorted and said, Di Mingju, don't forget, without my apprentice, you would have been cold. Humph, this should be elegant enough, right? Elder Cheng, Di Mingju's complexion doesn't change, he faintly says, Ben Jun can support your apprentice and punish the people who bullied her. But pretending to be her fiancé is absolutely impossible. Ben Jun already has someone in his heart. Baidu search UC Book League website, letting you experience the latest and fastest chapters, all of which are updated in seconds. Chapter 2451. Han Yi couldn't help but interrupt. Wang Darren, I have already said that Jun Shang already has a fiancé. How can he have an ambiguous relationship with another woman? If Miss Jun and the little master learn about it, won't the world be in chaos? Han Shujiu unhappily said, Who can be better than my disciple, more? Di Mingju's cold eyes swept over to him. He bitterly shut his mouth and snorted, "My baby disciple is so good. You want to touch him, but I won't let you. In short, Di Mingju, I'm telling you, no matter what, you have to help my disciple. Otherwise, I will not let you go." Di Mingju nodded his head. Jun Shang can't leave the Xiuxian continent in the near future. He doesn't mind promising Han Chujiu to support his apprentice. In any case, once this matter is settled, he will rush to Mu Yan's side without a moment's delay. Helping Han Chujiu's apprentice is just a matter of convenience. Han Chujiu nodded with satisfaction. "Don't worry, now is not the time for you to appear. Didn't my good apprentice say that he is going to participate in the competition? Then let Di Mingju shine on the stage during the match, and blind the dog eyes of that couple." Di Mingju is not good at other things, but his appearance is really good. That scumbag will certainly be ashamed of his inferiority and want to find a hole to drill into. Thinking of this scene, Han Chujiu's round face turns red with excitement. His pair of eyes are as clear as the stars in the night sky. Seeing such a young man, Elder Chang was a little startled, but he couldn't help but smile. He hasn't seen little Jiu like this for many years. It's great that little Jiu can accept this apprentice. He just doesn't know who this woman is, but she can be treasured by Han Chujiu, who has always been arrogant. Thinking of this, Elder Chang couldn't help but ask, "Little Jiu, if you want Jun Shang to support your apprentice, you have to tell him your apprentice's name, right? Where does she live in the Xiuxian continent?" Han Chujiu was about to answer, but he was shocked to find that he doesn't know his apprentice's name in the real world. His face looked as if he was greatly shocked. After Elder Chang inquired a few times, he said listlessly, "I will leave a trace of my divine sense imprint in your body, and then I will leave one in my obedient disciple's body. When you arrive at the cultivation continent, you just need to follow the divine sense imprint to find her." After that, he doesn't wait for Di Mingju to respond. A divine sense imprint was directly sent into his body. Di Mingju doesn't resist, allowing the divine awareness imprint to slowly sink into his knowledge sea. Chang Lao originally wanted to say something, but when he saw Han Chujiu flying away, he couldn't help but laugh. When Han Chujiu returned to the inheritance space, she angrily stared at her precious disciple. But unfortunately, Mu Yan was immersed in refining pills, and did not notice that he was sulking. Han Chujiu picked up the teacup but didn't drink it. Instead, she slammed it on the table. This "pa" sound finally attracts Mu Yan's attention. She turned around in surprise and saw the cute boy with puffed cheeks. "Ninth Master, when did you come back?" Han Chujiu's cheeks bulged like a frog. "Do you still recognize me as your master?" Mu Yan blinked her eyes. "Of course, I recognize you." "Master, who made you angry? Is it that flower peacock that master mentioned?" Han Chujiu stared at her with big round eyes. "This master is the king of medicine. Who can make this master angry?" Baidu search for the UC Book League website, so that you can experience the latest and fastest chapters. All are updated in seconds. Chapter 2452. Although he said so, Han Chujiu's expression and actions clearly expressed his strong feelings. "Master, I am very angry, come and comfort me." Mu Yan smiled and walked forward, sat next to Han Chujiu, and poured a cup of tea for him. "Master, drink some tea." The teacup that Han Chujiu just despised, was happily taken and took a sip. "Aya, the tea poured by my good disciple is so sweet." "Mu Yan, did disciple make master angry?" Han Chujiu proudly sipped the tea and did not speak. Mu Yan sighed and said, "I just successfully refined a 10th grade elixir, but the purity is only 94%. Jiu Shifu, do you think I am too useless and lose your face?" Cough, cough, cough. Han Chujiu coughed violently. He only left for a few hours. Even if converted to the time in the inheritance space, it was only a few days, but his precious disciple has already refined a 10th grade elixir. Even the purity almost reached the perfect line that he required. Wait. Wait a minute. If this continues, will his disciple catch up with him in a few years? Then how can he teach his good disciple? How can he show off outside? Han Shujiu suddenly felt a sense of crisis. He was not even interested to ask Mu Yan's real name and address. Anyway, his little disciple is his little disciple. When his little disciple ascends to the Shushan continent, he can catch her at any time and place and ask her clearly. Han Shujiu imprinted his divine sense in Mu Yan's body and only said one sentence. Good disciple, wait for me, master will soon send someone to support you. Without waiting for Mu Yan to ask, he hurriedly left. Mu Yan was left in the same place, with a puzzled look on her face. So, why was master angry just now? In Tianguang ruins, because of the competition between Great God Yi and Great God Jun, there was an uproar. Mu Yan did not pay attention to it at all. She calmly refined elixirs in the inheritance space. Until there were only 3 days left before the start of the competition, she re-entered Tianguang ruins. At this time, in Tianguang ruins, the voice of Jun Mu Yan had gradually overshadowed Yi Liangchen. The first place on the popular list of elixirs began to be replaced by Leng Qingwan's Snow Soul Pill. When Mu Yan arrived at the shop, the old man is number 1 in the world. It was still crowded outside. However, it was different from the past, where they all came to buy pills and talismans in an orderly manner. At this time, the people outside the door were divided into 2 evenly matched groups. The group of people near the shop had stern expressions on their faces as they prepared for battle. Mu Yan recognized him. It was Liangchen Dajuan. As for the other group of people, they were also ferocious and furious. It was just that he didn't curse like Fan Jipeng and the others before. Moreover, the young man standing in front of these people, as well as the few people following behind him, were all shocked. Coincidentally, Mu Yan knew him. That young man was dressed like a peacock. His entire body was covered in embroidered clothes, and he was even spinning a jade flute in his hand. Who else could it be other than Xiao Yunchuan, the foppish young master he met in the Woodfront secret realm? Many of the people behind Xiao Yunchuan were acquaintances. Qinda and Xuyong of the Green Tooth sect, as well as the young girl Li Xiuxiu, who had been rescued from the hands of the Blood Hand Jackals, were among them. Xiao Yunchuan was obviously their representative. The corners of his lips were raised, and his smile was coquettish. But that smile did not reach the bottom of his eyes. Instead, it contained a stern coldness. We, the devastating city army, have never been unreasonable people. If you want to chase after your great god Yi, we don't care. But if you hurt our goddess Yan Yan, you will be guilty of the most heinous crime. Chapter 2453. Mu Yan shivered when she heard the words devastatingly beautiful army and goddess Yan Yan. She couldn't wait to rush over and smash Xiao Yunchuan's head. How come this guy has become so sickening after leaving the Woodfront secret realm? Unfortunately, the devastatingly beautiful army behind Xiao Yunchuan didn't find it sickening at all. Instead, they all showed expressions of approval. Qinda took a step forward, his expression gentle, but unquestionable. We don't ask for much. Anyone from your Liangchen army who has insulted God Jun must apologize in front of everyone in the reincarnation square. This matter will be written off. Victory and defeat in the upcoming pill competition will depend on your own ability. If you can't even do this. Before Qinda could finish, Elegant Bro had already stopped himself. You want the person who insulted God Jun to apologize? I, your father, want the person who insulted God Yi to apologize. Don't tell me that none of you have ever insulted God Yi? Sister Hua sneered. Pfft. What God Jun? Immortal fairy Qingwan? That woman is obviously not a good person. She's a whore, repeatedly trying to frame our God Yi. What's wrong with us insulting her? I still want to tear up that ugly face of hers that pretends to be ugly. If you have the ability, then come and kill this old lady. Do you really think our Liangchen army is afraid of you? Xiao Yunchuan and the others' expressions turned cold. Their expressions were filled with anger and killing intent. Many of them had entered the Woodfern's secret realm and survived through mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Even if martial arts were prohibited in the Tianguang ruins, the powerful pressure they released was enough to make the surrounding people pale. For the first time, there was no smile on Xiao Yunchuan's face, which had always been frivolous. Instead, there was only the coldness of a superior. Well, since it doesn't work, don't blame me for using force to oppress you. Ever since I left the Woodfern's secret realm, I've sworn that anyone who goes against Mei Yan is going against me, Xiao Yunchuan. Your Liangchen army and the old master's #1 under heaven's shop, are you ready to bear the wrath of my Xiao family? And the Green Tooth sect? And the Wind Sword sect? In an inn not far from the old man is #1 in the world shop. Ling Qingwan and Lu Yu sat facing each other. Looking at the commotion over here, the corner of Ling Qingwan's mouth hooked up into a mocking smile. That slut Jun Mayan really has a lot of supporters. However, they were also very easy to deceive. He only showed a slight sign of weakness in front of them, frowned, and expressed the grievance of being insulted and bullied. Without hesitation, they rushed to the front and became his lackeys. Heh, a bunch of brainless idiots. Ling Qingwan retracted her gaze and happened to see Lu Yu's drooling expression. She immediately frowned and revealed a disgusted expression. Lu Yu wiped his saliva and said with a flattering smile, "Celestial Fairy Qingwan, don't worry, we've already arranged everything. The signature that Dong Yulong obtained is in our hands now. As long as we hand it over, this Yi Liangchen won't even have the chance to participate in the pill competition. What's more, so what if she can participate? How could that ugly half-baked monster's level compare to immortal fairy's godly alchemy talent? As the saying goes, flattery doesn't work." Even though Ling Qingwan loathed Lu Yu and looked down on her, she felt as if she was walking on air at this time. Chapter 2454. She smiled faintly and said, "When those idiots from the city-toppling army make their move, all of you follow them immediately. Use Liangchen's army as bait to snatch the Herb King's inheritance from Yi Liangchen's hands. As long as you handle this matter well, I guarantee that I will win back the champion of the pill competition for Marquis." Lu Yu grinned and reached out his hand to caress Ling Qingwan's hand that was resting on the table. He said in a smooth voice, "This little one understands. To be able to serve the immortal fairy is a lowly one. Impudent." Ling Qingwan ruthlessly slaps him. "Who do you think you are? How dare you touch me? Get lost. Don't let this empress see you." Lu Yu left in fear and trepidation. However, when he turned down the stairs, he turned around and looked towards Ling Qingwan's direction, revealing a greedy and sinister smile. He, the high and mighty immortal fairy? I, Lu Yu, love to train and domesticate such prey. After chasing away Lu Yu, Ling Qingwan's gaze once again shifted downwards. Seeing the tense atmosphere in front of the #1 shop in the world, the disgust in his heart was replaced by delight. At this time, Lu Shengze, the owner of the floating life pavilion, had also rushed over. He stood beside Xiao Yunchuan with a cold and stern expression, and said in a clear voice, "If Liang Chen's army doesn't apologize to the great god Jun, then my floating life pavilion will launch an all-out attack on the old master's #1 under the heaven store in the Tianguang ruins from today onwards. The businesses related to the Floating Dreams pavilion would never supply any goods to Liang Chen's army. You'd better think carefully about the pros and cons. In front of the old master is the best in the world store." All the soldiers of Liang Chen's army gritted their teeth and looked humiliated and angry. Xiao Yunchuan stepped forward. His eyes were cold and his voice was powerful. "Make your choice. Do you want to apologize or bear the anger of our magnificent army? I have no intention of threatening you, but if you refuse to negotiate, then I, Xiao Yunchuan, swear that I will make your Liangchen army disappear forever." Before he could finish his words, he suddenly felt a pain in his abdomen, and his whole body flew out, landing heavily on the ground. God Yi is here. Seeing the young girl slowly walking out from the crowd, Liang Chen's army cried tears of joy. No matter how difficult the situation was, it seemed that as long as this girl was there was no difficulty that could not be solved. There was no miracle that could not be born. In their most desperate and humiliating moments, this person whom they trusted wholeheartedly would always appear in time and never let them down. Xiao Yunchuan cuts a sorry figure as he gets up from the ground. He coldly looks at Mayan. However, Xiao Yunchuan frowned as he took a closer look. The young girl's appearance was ordinary and delicate, leaving no impression on others. But those eyes were as bright as stars, with a hint of indifference, laziness, and charm. There was also the disdainful and indifferent temperament that shrouded the young girl, which always gave Xiao Yunchuan an inexplicable sense of familiarity. The anger that had surged into his heart had unknowingly dissipated by more than half. He tidied up his clothes, took 2 steps forward and said, "You are Yap Liangchen? Trying to put this young master in his place? Interesting, do you know that this young master is?" The last word, "who," had not left his mouth. Xiao Yunchuan's head had already been pressed to the side. "Get up, I'm not interested in talking to you." Even if you used your knees to think, you would know that Xiao Yunchuan was obsessed with looks. He only looked at the face. Chapter 24:55. What's the use of reasoning with him? Just think about how this fellow followed Su Lui and listened to her every word. Xiao Yunchuan staggered and almost fell. After he straightens up, he doesn't fly into a rage out of humiliation. Instead, he looks at Mayan with a puzzled expression. Why was the feeling of being kicked aside in disgust so familiar? Moreover, he didn't feel angry at all. Instead, he felt satisfied. Xiao Yunchuan shuddered. What was wrong with him? It was one thing for him to enjoy being beaten up by a beautiful woman, but he actually felt good when a faceless ugly freak disliked him so much. At this time, Mu Yan is not in the mood to pay attention to the tangled Xiao Yunchuan. She stood in front of Lu Xingze and went straight to the point. Were you the one who suppressed Liang Chen's army during this period of time? Before coming to Tianguang ruins, Mu Yan had already learned from Chu Tianyu. During this period of time, the various sects and clans of Liang Chen's army, as well as their businesses in Tianguang ruins, had all suffered varying degrees of attacks. The reason was that the owner of the Floating Dreams Pavilion, Lu Xingze, was suppressing these people from behind. Lu Xingze's family could only be considered second or third-rate in the Purple Cloud realm. However, their clan had been in the Tianguang ruins for many years. They had deep influence and wide connections. Many of Yap's supporters had been standing behind her since she was in the stage of fasting. His own strength and background were not that great. Therefore, such a blow was already a deep wound to them, and they were in unspeakable pain. Lu Xingze unconsciously took a step back when he met the girl's clear and cold eyes. When he came back to his senses, he was secretly annoyed that he, a peak-stage nascent soul cultivator, was actually weak in front of the little girl. He took a deep breath and said coldly, "I am indebted to the great god June. As long as it is her wish, I will find a way to fulfill it. As long as they humiliate or hurt her, I will not let them off." "Yi Liangchen, I know you are powerful." Mu Yan frowns and directly interrupts him. "When did June Mu Yan do you a favor? Why didn't she remember knowing this person?" Lu Xingze subconsciously replied, "God June saved my fiancé's life in the Woodfern's secret realm." As soon as the words left his mouth, he was stunned. Why should he obediently answer this girl's question? Moreover, Yi Liangchen sounded like he was very familiar with June Mayan. Mu Yan originally wanted to ask who his fiancé was, but after thinking about it, she decided against it. She had saved too many people in the Woodfern's secret realm, so how could she possibly remember all of them? So he directly says in a low voice, "Since you said June Mayan is your benefactor, then why can't you even recognize whether your benefactor is real or fake?" His gaze swept across and fell on Xiao Yunchuan, Chinda, Li Xiuxiu, and the others. Her brows slightly go up, looking at them like she's looking at idiots. It's fine if he can't recognize whether it's the real Mayan or not, but can you guys also not recognize it? Being played round and round by a scheming woman. If I were June Mayan, I wouldn't want to admit that you idiots are her supporters. In a split second, the whole audience was engulfed by crows and birds. Silence. After a long time, someone stammered, What do you mean? Does great God Ye's words mean that June Qingwan isn't the devastatingly beautiful slaying Lord Mayan at all? How is this possible? Immortal fairy Qingwan's appearance is clearly the same as great God June's. Have you all forgotten that you can change your appearance in Tianguang ruins? Chapter 2456. By the way, do any of you remember that whether it's the Azure Blue World or the Dragon Soaring Academy, there are rumors that Yi Liang Chen and the Xiaoyao 7 are close friends? The evidence is that every time Yi Liang Chen massacred the list, it was to support the Xiaoyao 7. This time, Lu Xingze, Xiao Yunchuan, Chen De, and Xu Yong are all dumbfounded. Not far from the restaurant, Ling Qingwan sees this scene and crushes the cup in her hand. Yi Liang Chen, this slut. She dares to question Mayan's identity? What right does this slut have? Ling Qingwan can no longer hold back and is about to jump down from the restaurant. But Lu Yu's greasy voice comes to her ears, Don't panic, Xianji. How can these words shake your status? As soon as Lu Yu's voice falls, someone from the fallen city army below laughs, Don't joke. Yi Liangchen, you speak as if you are familiar with God June. If you want to prove that Qingwan Xianji is not God June, it's very simple. Let God June come to Tianguang ruins himself, won't it be clear? Ling Qingwan's heart loosens when she hears this, and her face shows a determined smile. Sure enough, the crowd below that was originally intimidated by Mayan support becomes restless again. Among them, Lu Xingze's reaction is the most intense, Don't make irresponsible remarks. If Qingwan Xianji is not God June, then who is it? The top of the 10th grade coiled dragon list suddenly changed hands. In the entire Xiuzhen continent, which famous alchemist can match it? Who can reach the top of the coiled dragon list at such a young age and in such a short time? Only the omnipotent God June can do such a miraculous thing. Yi Liangchen, although you are called a king and a crazed demon, you still have a long way to go if you want to trample God June under your feet. Ling Qingwan's tense expression relaxes. She looks at Lu Yu with some approval in her eyes. This disgusting dog wasn't useless after all. Lu Yu licked his lips and lowered his eyes to conceal the greed within them, and he said with a smile, Immortal fairy, now that the situation has turned around, it's time for you to make a dazzling entrance and crush Yi Liangchen with your reputation and beauty to deal a lethal blow to them. Lu Xingze was speaking passionately and indignantly. Suddenly, a cry of surprise came from behind, Great God June has arrived. All the members of the magnificent city army turned their heads in unison, only to see a lady dressed in exquisite and luxurious clothes descending from the sky like a fairy, landing in front of everyone. The woman was a stunning beauty with a cold and arrogant expression. She was wearing the most expensive rainbow feather raiment in the Tianguang ruins, which made her already gorgeous features look even more exquisite and charming. Many of the soldiers from the overwhelming charm army were stunned. Some people couldn't help but drool. Lu Xingze immediately returned to his senses. He strode over to Ling Qingwan and bowed in salute. Great God June, why have you come in person? Ling Qingwan's expression was arrogant. She slightly raised her chin and lightly said, I heard that someone questioned my identity. How could that be? Lu Xingze quickly said, Who would dare to impersonate the name of God June? Without sufficient strength, who would have the qualifications to impersonate? Liang Chen's army was merely suppressed by us and wanted to divert our attention. Ling Qingwan ignored Lu Xingze and walked towards Yap Liangchen. Chapter 2457. Ling Qingwan sneered, You're saying that I'm pretending to be June Mayan? Then, where is the real Jun Mayan? Don't tell me that you, Yi Liangchen, are Jun Mayan. This sentence caused the crowd to roar with laughter. Does this Yi Liangchen have any idea what's going on? God Jun's nickname is Alluring Killer. How can his face be called alluring? Pfft. I think he's just jealous of our God Jun's beauty. Even if it's a competition of strength, do you think our God Jun will lose? No matter how powerful Yi Liangchen is, he's only a golden core cultivator. Does our God Jun care about that kind of thing? Yi Liangchen is so arrogant. If he's that good, then fight with our God Jun in real life. God Jun overturned a nascent soul cultivator and an astral body cultivator in a secret realm. If Yi Liangchen can take 10 moves from him, I'll respect him for that. The crowd burst into laughter. His dismissive attitude and insulting words caused Liang Chen's army to grit their teeth so hard that they made cracking sounds. Leng Qingwan's face showed a sarcastic and carefree smile. The humiliation of being bullied by Yi Liangchen during this period of time had all turned into glory at this moment, and it had returned to her. After that, she would make Yi Liangchen suffer even more. She would make him suffer 10 times or even 100 times the pain that Yi Liangchen inflicted on her. Leng Qingwan didn't realize that while she was being arrogant and the army was being bewitched by her, there were a few people watching her coldly. However, there were a few people who were looking at her coldly from the side, revealing suspicious expressions. Chinda frowned slightly and didn't say anything. Instead, he chose to communicate using the language of Tianguang ruins. I didn't realize it before, but after hearing what God Yi said, I also feel that this Jun Qingwan is a bit strange. I don't think she's like our boss. Xu Yong said, Boss Jun doesn't like to talk nonsense, but he's not arrogant either. She saw us but didn't even greet us. It's really not like our boss. Li Xiuxiu said, I didn't dare to say it before. I thought it was just my imagination. Boss Jun used to make me feel so comfortable. Even if it was just a little, I still felt that he was taking care of me. But this Jun Qingwan, she's always so condescending. I don't like her. I don't think she resembles Jun Mo Xia at all. Xiao Yunchuan frowned as he listened to the conversation between Su De and the others. His gaze fell on Leng Qingwan's picturesque face, and he suddenly felt that it was somewhat fake. It was just like those people in Tianguang ruins who had their looks enhanced by 100%. They were obviously beautiful, but they were so beautiful that they had no soul at all. It made him look like he was chewing wax, and he had no interest in pursuing it at all. However, Mayan had never given him such a feeling back in the Woodfern secret realm. Xiao Yunchuan was completely attracted by the girl at first sight. He wished he could crawl on the ground and worship her gorgeous beauty. This Jun Mayan, in the Tianguang ruins, didn't give him the slightest bit of that kind of infatuation that could shock even the soul. Xiao Yunchuan narrowed his eyes as a cold light flashed across his eyes. Could it be that someone really dared to impersonate Mei Yanyan? Under the aggressive gazes of the devastatingly beautiful army and Leng Qingwan, Mayan curled her lips and smiled softly. Immortal fairy, you really think too highly of yourself, don't you? Aren't you afraid that I'll disgust myself if I pretend to be you? Chapter 2458. I remember that it's only been half a month since the last time you clamored in front of my shop, right? Hee hee, have you already forgotten about being publicly slapped in the face so quickly? What, you didn't have enough last time, so you want to learn from Dong Yulong and let me slap you a few more times? Leng Qingwan burst out in anger, impudent. The soldiers of the fallen city army were also furious. Yi Liangchen, don't go too far. Do you think that we don't exist? How dare you humiliate the great god Jun in front of us? Yi Liangchen, you bitch. When it comes to fighting and alchemy, how can you compare to the great god Jun? Do you think you're invincible just because you got the title of list slaughtering demon? That's just because our great god Jun doesn't want to compete with you? That's right, if the great god Jun wants to compete, who can compete with him? Even the top rankers of the pill competition can't compare to the great god June's 10th grade coiled dragon list, okay? Mu Yan chuckled as she listened to the shouting and cursing. As long as Mu Yan wants to compete, she can become the top ranker. Trample Yi Liangchen under her feet? Lu Xingze said angrily, what? You're not convinced? Then go and see who's at the top of the coiled dragon list, wake up. Do you really think that you're invincible? Mu Yan's smile deepened, and she said unhurriedly, I admit that I, Yi Liangchen, can't trample Mu Yan under my feet. Ha ha ha, now you're afraid? Admitting defeat? What were you doing earlier? What bullshit, king, he's nothing in front of our great god June. Leng Qingwan's face showed a carefree smile. However, at this time, the girl's heavenly voice sounded again, then, if I trample this woman under my feet, does that prove that she's not Mu Yan? The laughter of the audience stopped abruptly. Leng Qingwan's complacent smile also froze. Lu Xingze frowned, Yi Liangchen, what do you mean by that? He hadn't finished speaking when Xiao Yunchuan suddenly stepped forward and said with a smile, Fairy Qingwan, although we all believe that you're the real god June. But in the end, it's not enough to convince Liang Chen's army. As a result, June Mo's splendid military exploits have a stain on them. Don't you think so? Without waiting for Leng Qingwan to speak, Xiao Yunchuan immediately continued, I think Yi Liangchen's idea is not bad. In our eyes, June Mo is invincible. Whether it's beauty, fighting, or alchemy, as long as she wants to, she'll be the king. Everyone, don't you agree? This sentence, no one refuted. The crowd below responded in unison. Those who had experienced the Woodfern's secret realm, seen the battle between Team Carefree and Team Qilin, and witnessed her defeating a nascent soul cultivator with her Bixia cultivation, would never doubt her invincibility and strength. Yap Liangchen was an all-rounder. Wasn't their great god June the same? Leng Qingwan was infuriated when she heard the shouts. Who does that slut Mu Yan think she is? She's always high and mighty. Being trampled under Yi Liangchen's feet means that I'm an imposter? Doesn't this logic mean that in these people's hearts, I'm inferior to that slut Mu Yan? However, despite her anger, Leng Qingwan didn't feel that she would be trampled under the feet of a mere mortal like Yi Liangchen. She sneered and looked at Mu Yan, good. I want to see how you're going to trample me under your feet. Chapter 2459. Mayan said unhurriedly, so, you agree with me? As long as I step on you, you will admit in public that you're not Mayan? Lu Yu, who was following behind Leng Qingwan, frowned and stepped forward to stop her. Unfortunately, Leng Qingwan was too confident in herself and said without hesitation, all right. But what if you can't do it? Her rising dragon elixir was infinitely close to a king elixir. Its purity has reached 91%, which is rare even in the Xuxian continent. Yi Liangchen is a mere mortal. It's simply a joke if he wants to beat her in a short time and become the top of the coiled dragon list. Mayan's eyes were deep as she said slowly, if I can't do it, then I will withdraw from the pill competition. Leng Qingwan smiled sinisterly, withdrawing from the pill competition is not enough. If you can't do it within 3 days, then hand over the Medicine King's inheritance to me. It's a deal. Mayan smiled, turned around and walked towards the direction of the reincarnation square. Several pills appeared in her hand, and she lightly tossed them in the air. Everyone in front of the lousy number 1 under the heavens shop looked at each other in dismay. Soon, someone exclaimed and reacted, Yi Liangchen is going to climb the coiled dragon list. Yi Liangchen is going to take the top of the 10th grade coiled dragon list. This news swept through the entire Tianguang ruins in a short period of time like a hurricane. In an instant, all the cultivators were swallowed up. They all gathered in the reincarnation square. Didn't Great God Yi just learn to refine 7th grade pills? How can she refine 10th grade pills so quickly? Is she even human? Fight for the top of the 10th grade list? Huh, what a joke. Right now, the top of the coiled dragon list is Great God June. I don't believe that Yi Liangchen can step on the alluring killer god. Brother, your news is too slow. Just now at the entrance of the lousy number 1 under the heavens shop, Great God Yi already said that June Qingwan is not the alluring killer god Mayan. She's an imposter. She climbed the coiled dragon list to step on June Qingwan and confirm the fact that she's an imposter. The crowd was in chaos. Everyone was waiting for a result. Tens of thousands of pairs of eyes were glued to the light screen on the reincarnation square that represented the ranking of the coiled dragon. They didn't blink at all, fearing that they would miss something. Suddenly, someone exclaimed, "Ah, it's changing, look." Everyone looked in the direction he was pointing and soon found a familiar name on the 28th position of the coiled dragon leaderboard. Rank 28, Yap Liangchen, 107,600 points, appraised a grade 10 antidote pill. The square was silent for a moment before bursting into laughter. 28th? You're not even in the top 10, yet you're saying that you want to trample the great god June under your feet? Ha ha ha, you're making me laugh to death. Leng Qingwan's eyes shone with a fiery light. The Medicine King's inheritance would soon be hers. However, at this moment, someone cried out in surprise. Wait a moment. Look, the coiling dragon list has changed again. Everyone looked up and realized in shock that Yap Liangchen, who was ranked 28th just now, had risen to 12th place. 212,000 points, appraised a grade 10 antidote pill and a grade 10 vitality fortifying pill. The people who were just mocking Yap Liangchen were dumbfounded for a moment. Chapter 2460. Fuck. She rose again. She's 8th this time. Leng Qingwan's greedy smile froze. He stared at the coiled dragon list and murmured, "Impossible. Impossible. There's no way she can surpass me." The originally noisy plaza was engulfed in silence. All of a sudden, there was dead silence. Only heavy breathing could be heard from every corner of the plaza. Only when the dazzling name on the light screen changed again would these gasps be replaced by cries of surprise. 5th place. Fuck. She's in the top 3. Ah. She's surpassed Master Su Qingling. She's in 2nd place. Oh my god. This is the 10th grade coiled dragon list. Is Yi Liangchen really going to reach the top in one day? Leng Qingwan's forehead was dripping with sweat. On the screen of the coiled dragon list. 1st place, Leng Qingwan, 869,500 points. 2nd place, Yi Liangchen, 683,000 points. The difference between the two was less than 200,000 points. Leng Qingwan's mouth twitched. She won't surpass me. She won't surpass me. I'm the true king of alchemy. I'm the moon that everyone revolves around. Yi Liangchen's army held their breaths, clasped their hands together, and prayed silently. The fallen city army's mood was a lot more complicated. Everyone, including Lu Shengze, had the same thought. If Jun Mo Xia were to be trampled underfoot, would he still be the same Jun Mo Xia in their hearts? Yi Liangchen said she was an imposter. Was that true? However, after that, the reincarnation square was silent. Someone exhaled and smiled. It seems that God Yi is powerful, but he's still not as good as immortal fairy Qingwan. The 1st place of the coiled dragon list is still, boom. Before this person could finish speaking, the entire Tianguang ruins shook with an earth-shattering quake. Then, 4 pillars of light shot up from the center of each plaza in the upper, middle, and lower districts. In the end, they gathered together in the sky of the Tianguang ruins and exploded into dazzling fireworks. Heaven and earth as the furnace. Mountain and water spiritual herbs are refined into pills. The spirit pivot begins. The coiled dragon king succeeds. Congratulations to Tianguang Ruins special user, Yiliang Chen, for reaching the first place of the apricot, glazed, spirit pivot, and coiled dragon lists. Yiliang Chen, please come to the Dreamy Cloud Lake to receive your special reward within 3 days. Everyone in the plaza, or rather, the entire Tianguang Ruins, looked up at the sky. Then, they looked down at their surroundings. Everyone felt that there were only 5 words in front of their eyes. Pil God Yi. Gulp. Someone swallowed his saliva and murmured with a dreamy look on his face, again. Yi Liangchen, are you even human? In the Azure Blue world, he slaughtered the 3 lists of the Azure Cloud Academy. In the Deer Cry Banquet, he slaughtered the 6 lists of the Dragon Ascension rankings. In the Medicine King's Inheritance, he slaughtered all the examination lists, and now, he slaughtered the 4 lists of the pill competition? Have you guys forgotten about the talisman that trampled all the elixirs and magic treasures underfoot in the golden heavenly light? Oh my god, I'll remember the fear of being dominated by Yi Liangchen every time I see the list. Sob, me too. This fellow was simply deranged. The name, Crazed List Slaughterer, is perfect. Chapter 2461. Compared to the shock of the passers-by, Liang Chen's army is wild with joy. The fallen city army is at a loss. Their whole body feels empty and absent-minded. For a moment, they can't react to what happened. The one who is most shocked is Lu Shengze. He has always believed that God Jun is invincible and can't be defeated by anyone. But today's result has completely subverted his imagination. How can this be? Could it be that God Jun isn't that strong? God Jun is naturally the strongest. Xiao Yinchuan's voice comes to his ears. This can only prove that Jun Qingwan isn't Jun Mayan at all. This woman is a fake. Lu Shengze suddenly turns around and looks at them in shock. At this moment, a soft female voice is heard. Zhe, I also think that Jun Qingwan isn't God Jun. Shu Wei, why are you here? Lu Shengze sees his fiancée and quickly greets her. When he realizes what she said, he immediately says with a dignified expression, Shu Wei, you mean, the woman called Shu Wei has a gentle and refined appearance, but her cultivation is extremely high. She has already reached the 9th level of nascent soul. She looks at the ashen-faced Ling Qingwan and slowly shakes her head. I don't know how to describe this feeling. In short, I like God Jun very much, but I don't like this woman. This sentence is very similar to what Li Xiuxiu said. It's a woman's intuition towards another woman. It's very subtle and indescribable, but extremely accurate. Shu Wei continues, moreover, I think that with God Jun's character, he would never do something like forcing someone to hand over the inheritance. Chen De and the others nod again and again. The fallen city army who heard their conversation is also shocked. Then, a monstrous rage surges in their hearts. They were deceived. This woman isn't God Jun at all. Xiao Yinchuan sneers, not only is she pretending to be Mei Yan, but she's also ruining her reputation. What a joke. She even dares to pretend to be God Jun. Who the hell is this smelly whore? I will tear her apart. Damn, I worked so hard to support her, but it's all for an imposter. The discussions, exclamations, and curses of the crowd in the plaza, mixed with the lingering sound of Tianguang Ruins broadcast, all poured into Lang Qingwan's ears. Her face was ashen and pale. Her hands were clenched into fists by her side, and her teeth were grinding. Lost? Was she really being stepped on by that bastard? How was this possible? Just as her mind was buzzing, she suddenly heard Lu Yu say loudly, this isn't right. The elixirs that Yi Liangchen submitted for appraisal seemed to be the most ordinary elixirs. How could the value of these elixirs be compared to the Soaring Dragon elixir? No matter how many of them there were, they shouldn't have gotten such a high score. Could it be that Tianguang Ruins is blatantly protecting Yi Liangchen? As soon as these words came out, the surging emotions of the crowd cooled down for a moment. The people arranged by Lu Yu immediately came back to their senses after receiving the instructions and shouted loudly. The great god June is refining the rising dragon pill. Everyone knows that it's a legendary pill. No one in the cultivation continent has ever succeeded in refining it. What the hell did Yi Liangchen submit for appraisal? Antidote pill? Essence restoring pill? Spirit restoring pill? Ha, I can refine all of these elixirs. That's right. Logically speaking, a single rising dragon pill should be worth all of Yi Liangchen's elixirs, right? Chapter 2462. A portion of the beautiful city army's expressions also changed from shock to doubt. Take a closer look. The pills Yi Liangchen submitted are all the most basic ones. Not to mention Jun Qingling's Ascending Dragon Pill and Su Qingling's Clear Void Pill, they're all mediocre compared to the other pill refiners on the Coiled Dragon list. That's right. No matter how many of these pills there are, how can they be worth so many points? The rankings of the pill competition were based on the pills submitted by the cultivators. Different types of pills could be accumulated. But generally speaking, the higher the grade of the pill, the fewer the types of pills the pill refiner could refine. Everyone understood the principle of quality over quantity. Therefore, an ordinary pill refiner who refined hundreds of basic pills might not even be able to get enough points to refine a rare top-grade pill. This was also why the pill refiners on the list would usually only submit 3 to 5 types of pills. Tianguang Ruins had just been shaken by the news that he had become an elixir god. No one realized that Yi Liangchen had submitted 8 types of pills to the Coiled Dragon list, and every single one of them was a basic pill that cultivators were familiar with. But how could such ordinary pills be worth 950,000 points? Hearing Lu Yu's words, the people below started arguing again. Ling Qingwan was like a fish that was about to suffocate, but suddenly came back to life. Her eyes flashed with hope as she glanced at Lu Yu. Lu Yu immediately understood and continued, I've always felt that Tianguang Ruins was very biased towards Yi Liangchen. There were a few times when the tribulation lightning should have struck, but it passed. I thought I was overthinking, but now it seems like, hee. We suspect that the results of the Coiled Dragon list were falsified. We request for a thorough investigation and justice for God June. To devour. Tianguang Ruins is harboring Yi Liangchen. We must seek justice for God June. A small portion of the people in the Reincarnation Plaza were riled up and shouted. Yi Liangchen's army was furious. Damn it. Before the competition, he said that God Yi was inferior to that bullshit immortal fairy. After the competition, he refused to admit it. He even said that Tianguang Ruins was harboring him. Tianguang Ruins had existed for so many years. When did they make a mistake? When did they protect anyone outside of the rules? Bah. If you can't afford to lose, then don't gamble. Mu Yan leisurely walks out of the appraiser hall. Listening to the doubts of the people in the reincarnation square, the corners of her mouth can't help but curve. Because in her ears, Lil Tian's voice was still stiff, but it was obviously angry. First host, Little Tian didn't break any rules. No one, including Master and I, can violate the rules of Tianguang Ruins. Mu Yan smiled and comforted him. I know, Xiao Tian is the most obedient. Lil Tian snorted. Just you wait, first host. Lil Tian will slap their faces till they're swollen. Xiao Tian, master, Xiao Tian, Xiao Yan master. She slightly raised her chin and revealed a disdainful expression. She then sneered, Yi Liangchen, don't think that you can defeat me with such a despicable method. Don't think that you can step on me. Xiao Tian do Xiao Yi pills, and Chen Tian dragon. Xiao Tian Mu Yan chuckled, why wouldn't I dare to say it? Damn, you obviously cheated to win, yet you're still so shameless. Chapter 2463. Those die-hard supporters of Leng Qingwan suddenly burst into a torrent of abuse. Not to be outdone, Liang Chen's army is about to speak up. Suddenly, thunderclouds gather above the reincarnation square. With a rumbling sound, the thunder falls. Those who had just questioned Tianguang ruins and insulted Mayan are foaming at the mouth and kneeling on the ground. Little Tian's mechanical and flat voice comes from the sky, but it's full of austere majesty. Insulting Tianguang ruins' pill god, questioning the rules of Tianguang ruins, will be punished with an electric shock to the soul as a warning. If there is a second offense, severe punishment will be meted out. This punishment can be said to be as powerful as a thunderbolt, subduing everyone present. Leng Qingwan fiercely grits her teeth, her complexion ashen. Lu Yu's eyes turn, and he's about to speak. He hears little Tian's flat voice again. To devour. In view that some people have doubts about the points of the coiled dragon list, the results of all the elixirs submitted by the special user Yi Liangchen will be announced. Hereafter, if anyone questions this matter again, it will be regarded as challenging the authority of Tianguang ruins and will be severely punished. As soon as the voice falls, a light screen suddenly pops up above the coiled dragon list. Everyone can't help but stare at it curiously. Someone sucked in a breath of cold air at the sight of it. Lu Xingze even loses his composure and exclaims, 99% purity? How is this possible? Yes, when everyone's eyes fall on the light screen that displays the elixir's appraisal information. Their attention is completely attracted by only one parameter. That is, purity. There are a total of 8 basic elixirs, and the purity of each one has reached a frightening 99%. In the Xiuzhen continent, elixirs with 80% purity are already high-quality elixirs that are easy to absorb and have no side effects. A few days ago, Lu Xingze used the glass bottle to appraise Leng Qingwan's elixirs in front of everyone. The purity of 90%, 91%, has already shocked everyone. 91% is already the elixir with the highest purity in the history of the Xiuzhen continent. Then, 99% purity, what kind of concept is this? The reincarnation square is completely boiling. Someone is shouting, "Long live God Yi! God Yi is mighty!" Someone is shouting for Leng Qingwan to immediately admit defeat and admit that she isn't the fatally killing god. There were also people who shouted themselves hoarse and asked me when the world's #1 store would start selling these pills with 99% purity. Mu Yan tossed the pill in her hand to North Sunflower Xiangwan. In an instant, everyone's envious, jealous, and hateful gazes were focused on North Sunflower Xiangwan. North Sunflower Xiangwan immediately hid the pill into the jade key like a little bird protecting its food. He did not even spare Easy Bro a glance as a bright smile bloomed on his face. Facing everyone's aggrieved gazes, Mayan says unhurriedly, "Don't worry, these, stainless foundation elixirs, will be sold at Laozi's #1 store under the heavens. As usual, as long as it's Liangchen Dajuan, you can reserve them." Waves of cheers and sighs could be heard from the square. However, Mu Yan was too lazy to pay attention to this. Instead, she looked at Leng Qingwan. That pair of indolent and charming peach blossom eyes instantly became bone-chilling cold. His entire body seemed to be enveloped by the might of a king. "Now, I'll say it again in front of everyone, are you Jun Mayan?" Chapter 2464. Leng Qingwan's whole body suddenly trembled, and her complexion turned pale inch by inch. She didn't understand what was going on. She was obviously the high and mighty immortal, but facing the pressure that Yi Liangchen suddenly released, she felt as if someone was strangling her throat. An inexplicable fear mixed with panic welled up in her heart, causing the quibble that she wanted to blurt out to get stuck in her throat. Finally, her lips trembled and opened and closed several times, before she could only spit out 3 words in a hoarse voice, "I am not whoosh." This time, the reincarnation square directly exploded as if oil was poured on a raging fire. "Are you kidding me?" You're not great God June, then why do you want us to support you and go against Yi Liangshan's support? Damn it, where did this slut come from? Pretending to be our alluring killing god, don't you have any shame? Damn it, I even spent 80 million crystals for her bullshit snow soul pill. Give me back my crystals. The people who were worshipping Leng Qingwan before turned into fiendish debt collectors in a flash, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws as they pounced towards her. Leng Qingwan was so scared that she hurriedly retreated from the Tianguang ruins, but before she could move, she was knocked to the ground. For a moment, countless punches and kicks landed on her body, causing her to let out a sharp cry. Miss, the person beside Leng Qingwan is the confidant of the Dingguo Marquis, Lu Yu. Chu Tianyou's restrained voice came into Mayan's ears. She followed Chu Tianyou's line of sight and looked at the wretched and unremarkable man. She slightly narrowed her eyes, and the corner of her mouth hooked up into a sneer. In an uninhabited valley near the refining god precipice. Light flickered, and a tall figure suddenly appeared among the green mountains and clear waters. He frowned as he looked at the refining god abyss with billowing black water. The sunlight fell on the man's body, illuminating his elegant jade-like, incomparably handsome and peerless elegance. Master, don't be impulsive. This is the refining god abyss. Even if you completely immerse yourself in it, you will also be completely eroded. Qi Wen looked at Luo Yunxiao's expression, and hurriedly jumped out of the spiritual pet bag, saying excitedly. Luo Yunxiao was silent for a long time, then whispered, perhaps, the thing I'm looking for is here. You also said that it's a possibility. What if it's not? Master, please don't gamble with your life. Perhaps what you're looking for isn't in the cultivation continent at all, but in... Qi Wen tried her best to persuade Luo Yunxiao to give up on this idea. At this moment, a mechanical voice suddenly sounded in Luo Yunxiao's mind, Master, someone has entered the Dreamy Cloud Lake to receive a special reward. Special reward? Luo Yunxiao was taken aback. If he remembered correctly, it had been many years since anyone in the Tianguang ruins of the cultivation mainland had received a special reward. However, he didn't stop. His divine sense quickly entered the Tianguang ruins and appeared in the core area, the Dreamy Cloud Swampland. The Dreamy Cloud Swampland was overflowing with colorful lights. It was as if there were countless galaxies descending from the sky and descending into the land of the nine heavens. A masked man wearing a snow-white robe with cloud patterns stood in the center of the Milky Way fantasy ocean, waiting quietly. Suddenly, the Milky Way swayed gently, the broken stars scattered, and the water rippled. A figure slowly walked into the Dreamy Cloud Swampland. Luo Yunxiao's jade-like pupils abruptly contracted when she saw the newcomer. The broken stars scattered by the Milky Way floated around. Some landed on the person who entered, and some landed on Luo Yunxiao. In the next moment, he felt a heat on the back of his hand. Luo Yunxiao suddenly looked down and saw that the same heart mark that represented the 3 live stones covenant was faintly discernible, and it was as hot as fire. Chapter 2465. Tomorrow is the pill competition. Mu Yan holds a small ice blue key in her hand, gently turning it. This small key is her reward for attaining Tianguang Ruins, Pill God, achievement. Its appearance is almost exactly the same as the jade key, except that it's a bit smaller, and it's blue. According to Little Tian, this is the key to enter the core area of Tianguang Ruins, Dreamy Cloud Lake. Moreover, this key is a one-time use. After entering and receiving the reward, she can no longer go back in. Little Tian originally said that she would receive the reward within 3 days. But these days, Little Tian has been unable to contact the master, and asked her if she wants to delay the time to receive the reward. Mu Yan had already planned to agree. But just now, Little Tian suddenly sent a message, saying that he had contacted the master, and that she could receive it at any time. Mu Yan turns the blue key again, and finally chooses to go to Tianguang Ruins. However, when she enters Tianguang Ruins this time, the first thing she sees is not the reincarnation square or the shops. Instead, it's a shining door. Above the door, there are the words, Dreamy Cloud Lake, written in bold and powerful characters. Mu Yen looks around and mobilizes her divine sense, only to find that an invisible pressure and resistance is coming from all directions. Her divine sense can't even extend a meter in this place. Is this the core area of Tianguang ruins? Mu Yen composes herself, clenches the small blue key in her hand, and walks in. As soon as she enters the Dreamy Cloud Lake, she is stunned by the dreamlike scenery in front of her. There are no mountains, no water, no birdsong, and no fragrance of flowers. But it's a brilliant sea of stars that would enchant anyone. Mu Yen looks up in a daze, looking at the falling stars and the scattered broken stars. For a moment, she almost forgets to breathe. Dazzling starlight fell on her hair and body. Mu Yen curiously wants to touch it, to verify whether it's real or not. However, at this moment, she feels a burning sensation on the back of her right hand. Mu Yen quickly looks down, and sees that strange yet familiar heart mark slowly appearing on the back of her hand. Hiss. She sucks in a breath of cold air. Then, as if realizing something, Mu Yen suddenly looks up. In an instant, she comes face to face with a pair of eyes that are as dark as ink, as deep as the sea. She subconsciously takes a step back, and looks again. Only then did they realize that it was a man wearing a mask. Because of the dazzling light of the galaxy, she couldn't clearly see the man's appearance. He only knew that he had a pair of extremely beautiful jade-like eyes. Mayan's gaze slowly moves down, falling on the back of the man's hand. Even under the refraction of the starlight, the man's hand appeared distorted and blurry, but she could still clearly see the almost identical heart mark on it. Boom! Mayan's mind is buzzing. He felt as if 10,000 grass mud horses were galloping across his heart. Holy shit! Could it be that this man was the fiancé that her cheap father had arranged for her? Luo Yunxiao looked at the young girl in the starlight, who had a stunned expression on her face. She almost used all the strength in her body to restrain herself from swallowing and clenching her fists. How could he have thought that the one who came to the Dreamy Cloud Lake to receive the special reward would actually be Mayan? Moreover, the special floating energy in the Dreamy Cloud swampland was actually able to trigger the 3 lives covenant's mark of 1 heart. At this moment, he couldn't say a single word. He couldn't hear a single sound. The only thing that filled his mind was his heartbeat that was like a drum, and his emotions that had once again gone out of control. Chapter 2466. Mayan stroked the void spirit ring on her finger, slowly calming down. She hesitantly stepped forward and whispered, "Are you the master of Tianguang ruins?" Luo Yunxiao softly grunted. In the special space of the Yunmeng swamp, his voice and figure seemed vague and distant. Mayan didn't recognize the person at all. She hesitated for a moment, wondering if she should ask who the other person was and where her cheap father was. Then, the two sides could negotiate to dissolve the engagement. However, at this time, the burning sensation on the back of her hand, along with the heart-shaped mark, suddenly disappeared. Mayan quickly looked up and saw that there was nothing on the back of the man's hand. She frowned. Had she been dazzled by the starlight just now? It couldn't be, right? Just then, a low and clear voice came. "There are 3 choices for the special reward." With that, Luo Yunxiao raised his hand, and 3 balls of light appeared in front of Mayan. Above the balls of light were written, "Drifting Soul Seal," "Invincible Order," and "Floating Light Jade Key." Mayan curiously looked up. She knew about the Drifting Soul Seal. It was the special jade key that allowed her Qi Shaohuang to enter Tianguang ruins. But what did the "Invincible Order" and "Floating Light Jade Key" mean? Just as she was puzzled, she heard the man's somewhat vague voice in her mind. The "Invincible Order" allows you to ignore all the rules of Tianguang ruins. Even if you erase a person's soul, you will not suffer any punishment. The time limit is a quarter of an hour. Mayan slightly inhaled a breath of cold air. This, invincible order, was truly worthy of its name. Although it was only a quarter of an hour, it was tantamount to becoming the master of everyone in Tianguang ruins. Luo Yunxiao continued, the jade key is used to devour. The corresponding levels of Tianguang ruins are divided into Cloudy Sky Jade Key, Floating Light Jade Key, and Spirit Ruins Jade Key. You now have the Cloudy Sky Jade Key, which can open the low-level Tianguang ruins, but not the middle-level Tianguang ruins. Mayan immediately understood. The Floating Light Jade Key was the key to open the middle-level Tianguang ruins. Her mind faintly flashed the words that little Tian often said, it's a pity that little Light and little Su are still asleep and can't see the first host. Hee, they must be so envious of me. Therefore, little Tian is in charge of the low-level Tianguang ruins. Little Light and little Su were in charge of the middle high-grade Heaven Light ruins. But the problem was, where was the intermediate Tianguang ruins? Even if she got the flickering light jade key, she couldn't get in now. Mu Yan thought for a moment and said, I choose to be invincible. First host, choose the floating light jade key. I must choose the floating light jade key. Little Tian's anxious voice came into his ears. However, as if it was afraid of being discovered, it only shouted once and quickly disappeared. But from this sentence alone, one could hear the eagerness in his voice. Mu Yan immediately corrected herself and said, I choose the floating light jade key. Luo Yunxiao nodded and waved his hand lightly. The last ball of light entered Mu Yan's body. She used her divine sense to inspect her own body and did not feel any changes. She couldn't help but pout. She felt that she had made a huge loss by choosing the floating light jade key instead of the invincible token. No. Her top priority was to ask the owner of Tianguang ruins if he knew about the engagement. It would be great if he could think of a way to remove it. Mu Yan raised her head to look at the man in front of her. She deliberated over her words and said softly, May I ask if you know? Before she could finish her words, she felt the world spinning. Chapter 2467. By the time he regained his senses, he was already at the reincarnation square. Where was the Milky Way of starlight? Where was the masked man? Mu Yan is dumbfounded and quickly looks for Xiao Tian. I want to see your master, what should I do? Lil Tian said awkwardly, but without master's order, no one can enter the dreamy cloud swampland. Little Tian must never reveal master's identity. Mu Yan heaves a long sigh, and can only give up. In her heart, she once again cursed her cheap father 100 times. Forget it, fiancé isn't important. Maybe he was also a victim. After all, who would be willing to get engaged to someone they had never met before? The most important thing was to quickly find her cheap father and force him to erase the contract on the 3-life stone as soon as possible. Mu Yan very quickly threw this interlude to the back of her mind, and wholeheartedly threw herself into the pill competition that was about to begin. And in the valley beside the god refinement precipice, Luo Yunxiao's figure gradually appeared. She clenched her fists tightly and then loosened them. A self-mocking smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Xiuxian continent, polar domain border. With the river of forgetfulness as the boundary, the armies of the polar domain and the nether realm were ready to go, their killing intent soaring to the heavens. The aura that suffused the air was tense and murderous, and it was like a bowstring that was pulled taut to the limit. At any time, at any place, a light touch would cause it to shatter, transforming into a great battle that shook the heavens and left corpses floating for thousands of miles. Not far from the two sides, there was a group of strangely dressed devil cultivators wandering around. Pairs of oily green eyes stared at the soldiers of the polar domain, and from time to time, they would let out horrifying giggles. Monarch, these demon soldiers and demon generals are too hateful. Xing Lang said angrily, as long as we move, they will secretly sabotage us. Otherwise, just based on Yin Wuji's subordinates, they would have long been crushed by us. This time, the troops sent by the Devil region to assist the Nether region were not many. However, they were extremely difficult to deal with. They were all people with incredible speed, tenacious vitality, and all kinds of strange methods. They've never confronted the Polar Domain's great army head-on. As soon as they see Di Mingju, they're like a cat that's seen a mouse, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. But as long as the Polar Domain army and the Nether realm clashed, these people would immediately scuttle out like ghosts to wreak havoc. It was simply too annoying. Unfortunately, even if Di Mingju keeps watch here, he can't casually make a move to devour. Otherwise, the demonic lord Jun Shirtian and the domain master of the Nether region, Yin Wuji, would have a reason to join hands and kill him. Just like Yin Wuji, he could instigate his subordinates to slaughter the immortals of the Polar Domain, but he would never dare to do it himself. The moment he made the slightest movement, it would be equivalent to breaking the underlying agreement. Di Mingju will kill him without mercy. Hearing Xing Lang's words, Di Mingju's expression doesn't change in the slightest. However, he knew in his heart that this battle would not last long. This was only the Nether realm and the Demon realm probing the current strength of the Polar Domain. Once they figured out the situation, they would retreat. But at the same time, it also revealed that the peaceful situation of the Shushin continent's tripartite balance might be broken. Di Mingju frowned slightly. Right at this moment, Elder Yu, who was at the side, suddenly snorted and said, "If Lord had agreed to form a marriage alliance with the demon race, then the Nether realm would have been hammered into the core of the earth by now, and they wouldn't dare to come out and be arrogant anymore." Xing Lang glared at Elder Yu. This old fart still hasn't given up and wants the emperor to go up and marry her. What kind of status does Jun Shang have? How can he marry a demon princess that he hasn't even met before? Chapter 2468. What's more, Jun Shang already has Miss June and the little master. Di Mingju's cold gaze looked at Elder Yu without a trace of ripples. Elder Yu shivered, immediately lowering his head and shrinking his shoulders, but he couldn't help but say indignantly, this subordinate heard the news from the Devil Domain. I heard that those demons are more interested in Jun Shang marrying their demon princess. After all, Yin Wuji's other son had always been a mystery. Apart from Jun Shirtian, no one knew his appearance and strength. Not to mention, everyone knew that the one to inherit the Nether domain in the future would be Yin Yuani. How could such a bastard child, who couldn't be seen in the light, be worthy of their princess? On the contrary, Di Mingju's peerless grace, unparalleled strength, and his monarch status in the Polar Domain, all made the demons, who revered the strong, more satisfied and yearned for him. Unfortunately, the protectors hid it from the demon venerable and secretly sent the marriage document to the Polar Domain, but were mercilessly rejected. Elder Yu complained, actually, even if it was a marriage, the demons didn't plan to join the war so early. But the words spoken in the Divine Wind Palace that day somehow reached the ears of the Devil region and Devil Lord Jun Shirtian. The protector of the Devil tribe was so angry that he swore to teach the Polar Domain a lesson. They also said that they would make Jun Shang and the Polar Domain regret looking down on their demon princess. Devil Lord Jun Shirtian even said. Star Wolf said impatiently, "What did they say?" Elder Yu inwardly sent the message from the Devil Domain back to Devour. The message was turned around. The Polar Domain rejected the marriage with the demons and sent an immortal monarch. Originally, it was just to return the document to the demon protectors, but who knew they would run into Jun Shirtian? Jun Shirtian, my daughter is not worthy of the Polar Domain's emperor? The Polar Domain immortal monarch who went to the Devil Domain to reject the marriage shook his head in fear. No, it's just that our emperor's heart already belongs to someone. Heh. I hope that Di Mingju doesn't regret it one day. Go back and tell him, even if all the men in the world are dead, my daughter will not look up to him. The Polar Domain immortal monarch cut a sorry figure as he was blasted out of the Devil's Domain. After he returned, he didn't dare to report to Di Mingju, and only sent the news to Elder Yu. Not long after that, the poltergeist ghosts invaded. After repelling the poltergeist ghosts, the Nether Realm joined forces with the Devil Race to attack the border of the polar domain. This was clearly Jun Shirtian flying into a rage out of humiliation. Xing Lang said angrily, "Bullshit, demon princess, she's not worthy of Lord in the first place. Which coward was the one who sent the letter back? You actually came back with your tail between your legs and let them insult the emperor? Damn it, if he was there, he would definitely reply for their Jun Shang. Even if all the women in the world die, our Jun Shang still won't marry that bullshit demon princess of yours." Di Mingju turned a deaf ear to the conversation between the two. His gaze faintly looked in the direction where the army of the Nether Realm was gathering, calculating when they would leave. At that moment, his void spirit ring glowed brightly. Di Mingju's eyebrows twitch, and his divine sense sinks inside to sense it. His originally cold and calm face instantly became bone-chilling, and his eyes emitted a thick killing intent. The connection between the two ethereal rings doesn't allow him to see what's happening on Mu Yan's side. But he can sense the energy fluctuations and life aura within Mu Yan's body. Just now, he clearly sensed that the 3 lives 1 heart seal within Mu Yan's body vibrated. Chapter 2469. That means that the damned fiancé, who made a 3 lives stone engagement with his Yan has appeared. Di Mingju's hands suddenly clench, and he turns around to leave. "Lord, where are you going?" Elder Yu hurriedly asked. Di Mingju was about to blurt out, "Cultivation Continent," but he swallowed the words back. This was a time of war, and the polar realm was a matter of life and death. He couldn't leave. His icy blue eyes were filled with frenzied irritation and anger, revealing a faint crimson red. He almost couldn't bear it anymore and personally made a move to slaughter all the people who were delaying him from going back to see Mu Yan. Ingmei suddenly exclaimed, "Jun Shang, quickly come and look, the people from the Devil Domain seem to have retreated." Xing Lang, Elder Yu, and the rest swiftly arrived at the front of the formation. Only then did they discover that the fiend race soldiers that were originally lingering around the surroundings were really retreating in batches. Some of the people from the Nether Realm angrily and suspiciously went to inquire, but in the end, they returned empty-handed. Strange, what's going on? Why did the demons suddenly retreat? Ingmei, Jun Shang, this subordinate will go and inquire. Saying that, without waiting for Di Mingju's response, Ingmei's figure has already disappeared. About a quarter of an hour later, Ingmei returned. She lands in front of Di Mingju and bows towards him. The expression on her face is rather strange. After a long while, he said, "This subordinate heard from the demon race that they have some information about the princess' whereabouts. They have no desire to continue fighting, so they retreated." Elder Yu's eyes widened. What? There was news of the demon princess, whose name, appearance, and whereabouts were unknown? How did you find it? If the demon race princess really came back, and the infernal region and nether region were to successfully unite by marriage, then the situation of the polar region would be even more severe. Di Mingju's eyes flashed. A thought seemed to flash through his mind, but it was too fast for him to grasp it. Xing Lang said excitedly, "Monarch, this is great. Once the devil domain retreats, how can the nether domain block the attack of my polar domain? We will launch an all-out attack now and give them a fatal blow." Di Mingju restrained his emotions and smiled coldly. "Do you think that without the demon domain, Yin Wuji would dare fight?" Almost as soon as he finished speaking, someone rushed in from outside. "Emperor, the Nether Realm's army has retreated." Star Wolf spat, "Coward." But Di Mingju is no longer in the mood to stay. He only throws down one sentence: "Ben Jun is going to the Xiuzhen continent for a trip." He disappeared without a trace. Star Wolf hesitated for a moment and immediately followed. The alchemy competition had officially begun. The first stage was the audition in Tianguang ruins. All the alchemists on the apricot forest, colored glass, spirit pivot, and coiling dragon lists were qualified to participate. Logically speaking, those who were able to rank at the top of the spirit pivot and coiling dragon rankings were already the predetermined champions of the pill competition. But in reality, that was not the case. Every alchemy grand competition's competition event was very peculiar. Usually, it wasn't a direct test of an alchemist's rank and strength, but rather a test of an alchemist's potential and comprehensive accomplishments. Moreover, it was the freedom of the alchemists to choose which pill to use to appraise and climb up the rankings. But in the pill competition, apart from the finals that would be held in the Imperial Palace, the alchemists usually didn't decide what type and rank of pill to refine. At this time, whether an alchemist's foundation was solid enough, whether their talent was strong enough, and whether their knowledge was broad enough would have a great effect. Chapter 2470. This was also the reason why the deans of Longting still asked Mu Yen for help, even though they knew that she could only refine 6th-grade elixirs. At this time, the rebirth square of Tianguang ruins was already packed with people. The light screen that originally occupied the center of the square had been removed, replaced by a small room that was almost identical. There was a shelf in the small room, on which different kinds of elixirs were placed. In the center of the room, there was a huge furnace, next to which were fire crystals. Not all alchemists had fire attribute spiritual roots, so they couldn't freely control flames. And these fire crystals were used to assist in making and controlling fire. Of course, people without fire attribute spiritual roots were generally unable to accurately control their Dan fire, so their alchemy level naturally wouldn't be high. The first round of the elixir competition officially begins. All participating alchemists, please refine 3 kinds of elixirs, regardless of grade or type. The time limit is 4 hours. The rules are as follows. First, the jade key space is sealed, and only the elixirs on the medicine shelf can be used. The type, quality, and quantity of elixirs obtained by all participants are exactly the same. Second, only the 7th-grade alchemy furnace provided by Tianguang ruins can be used. You can use your own spiritual fire or fire crystals. Third, the ranking is based on the types of elixirs refined within 4 hours, and the top 50 will advance. If the number of elixirs refined is the same, then the quality of the elixir will be used as an auxiliary judgment. Fourth, if you refine less than 3 kinds of elixirs in 4 hours, you will be directly eliminated. As soon as this rule came out, some of the people watching the competition sucked in a breath of cold air. It's only the first stage of the preliminary selection, and this is already the assessment content. Isn't it too difficult? The speaker was a 6th-grade alchemist, and he shook his head repeatedly as he spoke. Most people didn't understand this rule at all, and didn't understand what was so difficult about it. Don't you see the elixirs on the medicine shelf? There are only 10 kinds in total. I took a rough look just now, and almost all of these elixirs are unable to complement each other. At this time, everyone realized the seriousness of the problem. Even those who didn't know anything about alchemy knew that refining an elixir generally required at least 3 or more kinds of elixirs, and for these kinds of elixirs to be successfully refined, they must complement each other, otherwise, it would be impossible to form an elixir. Can there really be 50 people who can successfully refine and advance? I wonder who will be ranked first in the first round of auditions? Is there even a need to say it? Where God Yi is, how can we not get first place? Look, all the participating alchemists have entered their rooms. A ray of light flashed in every room, and familiar figures appeared in front of the pill furnace. In an instant, the entire square was boiling with excitement. Master Su Qingling is so cool. We will always support you. Longevity Master Gu Bai will win. Jun Qingwan actually still has the face to participate. Immortal Fairy Qingwan's strength is there for all to see, why can't she participate? So what if she pretended to be Jun Mayan? At least, Fairy Qingwan's beauty is real. She is much more beautiful than that ugly Yi Liangchen. Shouts and cheers rose and fell from the crowd. Even Ling Qingwan, who had been ruthlessly slapped in the face a few days ago and whose reputation was almost completely ruined, had many people supporting her just because of her face. However, these voices could not be compared to the voices of support from Liang Chen's army that covered the sky and covered the earth. Chapter 2471. However, Mu Yan and the others, who were in the small room, were completely unaware of the commotion outside. After listening to the rules of the first round of the pill competition and seeing the 10 types of elixirs on the shelves, the corners of Mayan's mouth curls up, revealing a smile of interest. Was this competition really interesting? However, when she turned around and saw the pill furnace at the side, her face instantly darkened. As time passed, in the room shown on the screen, many alchemists had begun to work. To an ordinary alchemist, this question might be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. However, the alchemists gathered in the elixir competition were the top existences in the entire cultivation land. How could a mere question stump them? If there weren't enough types of spirit herbs, they could substitute similar ones. Spirit herbs were unable to fuse with each other in alchemy, but through precise control of the fire, the unstable and incompatible elements could be removed. Look, Immortal Fairy Wan has already refined 4 types of pills. I already said that Immortal Fairy Qingwan is truly talented and has peerless beauty. So what if she's not Jun Mayan? We still support her and like her. Master Su Qingling has also refined 4 types of pills. Wow! 5, 1 more than Jun Qingwan. Master Su is so cool. No wonder we've been supporting him for so long. From time to time, exclamations could be heard in the square. Then, someone realized that something was wrong. Why hasn't Almighty Yi started refining pills yet? 1.5 hours have already passed. Yeah. Why is Great God Yi staring blankly at the alchemy furnace? Could it be that Yap Liangchen can't even pass such an easy selection? That's hard to say. After all, Yi Liangchen has only learned alchemy for a short period of time. His foundation might not be strong enough. Someone burst out laughing. Yap Liangchen was so arrogant during the 2 Dan competition. Could he have been defeated in the first round? That would be a huge loss of face. Leng Qingwan's supporters started to mock and ridicule him. Although Liang Chendajuan retorted loudly, his heart was beating like a drum. 4 hours had almost passed. Why was Almighty Yi still not concocting pills? Am I really going to lose? Just as everyone is feeling suspicious, Mu Yan finally moves. However, it would have been better if she hadn't moved. The moment she moved, everyone's jaws almost dropped. Why does God Yi want to use fire crystals? Could it be that she didn't have a fire spirit root and couldn't produce spiritual fire? How can you accurately control the flames with fire crystals? Holy shit! What was Yap doing? She actually poured all the elixirs into the pill refining furnace in one go. I think she doesn't know how to solve the problem, so she just gave up. Apart from those who supported Leng Qingwan and those who liked to defame Yi Liangchen, who were clamoring and ridiculing, everyone else fell into a deathly silence. Even Liang Chendajuan didn't have the mood to argue with them anymore. They really could not figure out what God Yi was trying to do. Putting 10 kinds of spiritual herbs into the alchemy furnace together, no matter how one thought about it, it was impossible to refine more than 3 kinds of medicinal pills, right? Time passed slowly. Soon, there was only 15 minutes left before the 6-hour time limit was up. In the assessment hut, most of the alchemists had already stopped what they were doing, but their expressions were different. Some people were dejected and vexed. These were those who admitted that it was already impossible for them to refine more than 3 kinds of medicinal pills. There were also some who were anxious and fearful. These were those who refined more than 3 kinds of medicinal pills, but were not sure if they could enter the top 50. Chapter 2472. Of course, there are also people who are confident that they can pass the first round of assessment. And the ones who refined the most elixirs are Leng Qingwan and Su Qingling. With just 10 kinds of elixirs, they refined 7 different kinds of elixirs. They are far ahead of the other alchemists by 4 or 5 kinds. On the reincarnation square, Su Qingling and Leng Qingwan supporters are shouting louder than the other. Each of them thinks that their idol will get first place. There are even people asking the manager of the appraiser hall who will get higher points for the elixirs refined by the two. After the manager saw it, he smiled and said, in this old man's opinion, although Immortal Fairy Qingwan and Master Su refined the same kinds of elixirs, Immortal Fairy Qingwan's elixirs are mostly 9th grade, which can be said to bring out all the characteristics of elixirs. And the highest grade of elixirs refined by Master Su is only 8th grade, so the final winner should be Immortal Fairy Qingwan. These words immediately made Leng Qingwan's supporters arrogant, their voices raised an octave. Ha ha ha, I already said that our Immortal Fairy Qingwan is the best. What number 1 alchemist in the world? That was before our Immortal Fairy Qingwan appeared. Didn't you see how our Immortal Fairy trampled on a certain someone on the coiled dragon list? Su Qingling's supporters flushed with anger, but they couldn't say anything. These people turned their spears around and ridiculed Yi Liangchen even more. TSK, it's going to end soon, but Yi Liangchen is still refining? Stewing 10 kinds of elixirs, does she really think that she can stew something good? Ha ha ha. Alas, what a pity for great God Yi. If he refined a high-level elixir, maybe he would win. After all, the time to learn alchemy is too short. I still don't understand. Even if great God Yi can't solve the problem, he shouldn't throw in all the elixirs? Bah, pity my ass. She actually used fire crystals to control the fire. With this kind of aptitude, how did she climb to the top of the coiled dragon list? In my opinion, what 99% purity, it's simply Tianguang Su deliberately shielding her. Everyone was discussing when suddenly, a loud bang came from the light screen in Mayan's room. Then, countless smoke filled the entire light screen. What? What? Why can't I see anything? Ha ha ha, what else could it be? Did Yap explode his furnace? This is the first time I've heard that the champion of the pill competitions for rankings couldn't even pass the first round of the qualifiers. Amidst the discussion, a dang sound was heard in the sky above the reincarnation square. Then, little Tian's voice rang in everyone's ears. The first round of the alchemy competition has officially ended. The participating alchemists are in position. The results of the competition will be announced. Just as he finished his words, the pagoda slowly descended and turned into a high platform. Hundreds of participating alchemists stood in front of everyone. When Leng Qingwan's escort saw her dressed in gorgeous clothing, she immediately screamed, "Immortal Fairy Qingwan, you're too amazing. You are the undisputed number 1, and the true number 1 on the coiled dragon list. Yi Liangchen, you fake trash. Get out of the competition." Leng Qingwan's face revealed a look of astonishment. She still didn't know what had happened. When she heard what one of Jun Qingwan's escorts said to her, her face immediately revealed an ecstatic smile. However, the next moment, little Tian's emotionless voice rang out again. Chapter 2473. Remember in 1 second, 800 mail sign /say net wonderful pop-up window free reading. Number 1, Yap Liangchen, he made 8 types of pills. Second place, Su Qingling, refined 7 types of elixirs. Third place, Immortal Fairy Jun Qingwan, refined 7 types of medicinal pills. In an instant, it was as if everyone present had been immobilized. They stiffly froze on the spot, unable to make a single sound. Most of them doubted their ears. Didn't Yap Liangchen fail to concoct a pill? Didn't the furnace explode? How did he get first place? Just as everyone was stunned, on the screen, the small room that everyone's eyes were focused on. The smoke and dust slowly dissipated, revealing the interior of the house. He saw that the 7th grade alchemy cauldron had indeed exploded into pieces. The only thing left was the base of the pill furnace, which was still alone and broken. However, when everyone's gazes were focused on the base of the broken pill furnace. However, he discovered that there were 8 pills lying quietly on top of it. Yes, 8 pills. Not one more, not one less. Moreover, it could be seen with the naked eye that these 8 bullets were of completely different colors and sizes. Everyone present was dumbfounded. Fuck. Why was he able to refine 8 different elixirs in one go? Am I really not seeing things? To think that I'm also an alchemist, but now they don't even know what alchemy is. Isn't Tianguang Su cheating for Yi Liangchen? Bah, don't be so sour. Guru Yi had always been capable of doing what others could not. You couldn't do it, but that didn't mean others couldn't. Don't forget that Yi Liangchen is the only successor of the King of Medicine. Oh my God, God Yi, we mortals kneel before you. Even if you want to prove your strength, you don't have to show off your skills like this, right? We mortals really can't bear it. The members of the Xiaoyao sect, who were standing at the back of the crowd, couldn't help but laugh out loud. I know why 6th senior sister wants to use fire crystals to refine 8 pills in one furnace. It's not to show off at all. Leng Yuma laughed. Is there a need to say? It must be a 7th grade cauldron prepared by Tianguang ruins. Little junior sister can't use it at all as it will explode the moment she uses it. Because it will explode as soon as it is used, I used fire crystals that have relatively mild spiritual power. That's why I refined 8 kinds of pills in one furnace. Even if it explodes, the 8 types of medicinal pills have already been refined. The corners of Chu Moli's mouth curled up slightly. Junior apprentice sister is really becoming more and more interesting. Liang Chen's army was pleasantly surprised that the great god they worshipped had once again become number 1. However, there was another group of people whose joy was no less than theirs. Who was the one who said that our master Su Qingling would lose to Jun Qingwan? Someone's tone makes it sound like the champion is already in their bag, but in the end, they only got 3rd place. I'm dying of laughter. What immortal fairy Jun Qingwan. She's been slapped in the face time and time again, yet you still believe her? Did this kind of person have any face? How could he have the face to pretend to be Jun Imosie? Leng Qingwan's smile once again stiffened on her face. She had tasted the feeling of being slapped in the face by someone she looked down on time and again in public. And this time, the slap was even more ruthless. Yi Liangchen had counterattacked. She couldn't even compare to Su Qingling. How was this possible? However, Tianguang ruins seemed to have known that they would question him. Therefore, he quickly announced the properties of Su Qingling and Leng Qingwan's pills. Chapter 2474. Remember in 1 second, 800 mail sign small/say net, wonderful pop-up window free reading. Although Su Qingling only refined a 7th or 8th grade elixir, the purity has reached 80%. And Leng Qingwan? The purity of that so-called 9th grade elixir doesn't even reach 60%. Once taken, it will produce Dan poison in the body. It's not an exaggeration to say that it's a waste. Listening to the unbridled ridicule and gloating laughter of the people below, Leng Qingwan's face distorts, and there's a fishy sweetness in her throat. She almost spits out a mouthful of blood. Ever since Yi Liangchen publicly slapped her face and exposed her identity, Leng Qingwan's smooth sailing days on the road of cultivation have become difficult. The defeat on the coiled dragon list, and the matter of pretending to be Jun Mayan was slapped in the face. The popularity she accumulated in Tianguang ruins quickly collapsed. Even the people of the Bloodsword sect and Dingbei Ho mansion, who were originally respectful to her, began to look at her with strange eyes. Even that disgusting man, Lu Yu. Although he used to be infatuated with her, he also revered her. But now, from time to time, he would look at her with that kind of disgusting gaze. When Leng Qingwan wanted to punish him in anger, what she got in return wasn't Lu Yu's horror and vulgarity, but giggles. Fairy Qingwan, do you want to make a comeback, and step on Yi Liangshan in the pill competition? Heh heh heh, this subordinate will definitely make your wish come true. When the time comes, I hope that Fairy Qingwan can let this subordinate get intimate with you. Leng Qingwan is thoroughly disgusted by Lu Yu's greasy face. But she wants to make a comeback. Before Di Mingju comes to the Xiuzhen continent, she must gather a strong popularity, and get Di Mingju's attention. So much so that as long as she makes a comeback in the pill competition, she can even reclaim Jun Mayan's identity. But as it happens, she's once again at a disadvantage. The first round of the first stage of the pill competition has ended, and only 50 alchemists advanced. Tomorrow, the second round will continue, and the final 3 candidates will be decided. As soon as Leng Qingwan leaves Tianguang ruins, she smashes everything in the room. The door creaks, and Lu Yu's wretched figure comes in. When Leng Qingwan saw him, she immediately scowled and glared at him. Scram, who let you enter my room? Lu Yu chuckled, don't be angry, immortal fairy. This Yi Liangshan is only arrogant in the first round. I guarantee that he will definitely be defeated in the second round. Leng Qingwan sneered, useless trash, do you think I will still believe you? Lu Yu leaned close to Leng Qingwan's ear and whispered a few words. Leng Qingwan's eyes suddenly lit up, is this true? Immortal fairy, you must be joking. Lu Yu reaches out to hold Leng Qingwan's slender, jade-like hands, and gently caresses them. No matter who this subordinate lies to, I won't lie to you. Leng Qingwan felt as if there was some kind of sticky and disgusting reptile wriggling on her hand. She was so disgusted that she wanted to scream and shake him off. But when he thought of the importance of the second round of the competition, he endured it. If you do this well, I won't mistreat you. Lu Yu let out a few weird laughs, reached out his hand and pinched Leng Qingwan's body a few times, then turned around and left. Soon, the next day arrived. The second round of the first stage of the pill competition has begun. This time, the alchemists were still assigned to small rooms. The small rooms still had medicine shelves and alchemy furnaces. What's different from last time is that this time, the medicine shelves were filled to the brim with elixirs, no less than 100 different kinds. The alchemists in the rooms had just taken their places, but the reincarnation square was already in an uproar. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.